I had one of those mornings a few years ago, the kind you don't plan for and honestly can't explain afterward. I was sitting in my car in a parking lot, nowhere to be for 20 minutes, and I just felt flat. Not sad, not anxious, just gray. That low-level emotional static that a lot of us carry around without ever naming it. And I remember thinking, I've done everything right today. I slept well, I ate, I exercised. So, why does my brain feel like a room with all the lights turned off? That question started something for me. Because I'd always assumed happiness was just a product of circumstances. Good day equals good mood. Simple as that. But sitting in that car, I realized something I hadn't been able to put into words before. My circumstances were fine. Genuinely fine. My brain just hadn't gotten the memo. And that's when I started asking a completely different question. Not how do I change my circumstances, but, quote, how do I actually talk to my brain in its own language? What I found changed everything about how I understand my own emotional life. And I want to share it with you. Here's the thing most people don't realize about happiness. It's not a feeling that just arrives on its own. It's a state your brain produces, cool or doesn't, based on signals it's getting from your body, your environment, your thoughts. Your mind isn't random. It has rules. And once you understand those rules, even just basically, you realize something kind of remarkable. You can influence your emotional state in ways that take less than 15 seconds, not by forcing positivity, not by telling yourself to feel better, but by sending your brain signals it actually knows how to respond to. There are 3 of these signals I keep coming back to, 3 specific, fast, neuroscience-backed mechanisms. Let's go through them. The first one, move your face first. Let your brain follow here's, is a question I never thought to ask. Which comes first? The feeling, or the face you make? We assume it goes one way. You feel happy, so you smile. But that's only half the story. Turns out the research has been quietly telling us the opposite direction works too. The facial feedback hypothesis basically says our emotions can be influenced by the expressions we're actually making. Put simply, smiling can lead to feelings of happiness. Now I want to be honest here. This idea has had a complicated history in science. The famous pen and teeth studies got hotly debated. But look at where the research has landed more recently, and it gets a lot harder to dismiss. Data from nearly 4,000 participants across 19 countries showed that both facial mimicry and voluntary facial expressions could amplify and even initiate feelings of happiness. That study ran in #Nature Human Behaviour SCLAC, one of the largest tests of this idea ever done. What I find fascinating, geni hi, that geni chi, and what most people skip over, is the actual mechanism. Smiling, even when it's forced, can trigger the release of dopamine and serotonin, the feel-good stuff, which is wild when you think about it. And there's a practical nuance here that I think really matters. It's not about forcing happiness. It's about slightly lifting the corners of your mouth, cope, what researchers call the half smile. Cope, which your body reads as a signal of safety. Safety, that word. Think about what that actually means. Your brain is running a constant threat assessment, every single second, scanning for danger. When your face says, "I am safe," your brain believes it. Not because you tricked yourself, but because the body and the brain share the same language. Researchers at the University of Kansas found that smiling actually helps reduce the body's stress response and lower heart rate in tense situations. Nobody prepares you for that. The idea that you could send your nervous system a safety signal with just the muscles in your face. But that's exactly what's happening. So the next time you feel that flatness, that gray room I was sitting in, try this. Don't tell yourself to feel better. Just slightly lift the corners of your mouth. Hold it for 15 seconds. Not a full grin. Just enough for your brain to register, we're okay. The second one, name what you're feeling and be precise about it. This one surprised me more than anything else, because it sounds like it should be obvious, and yet almost nobody does it correctly. When something feels bad, what do we actually say? I feel bad, or I feel off, or just I'm stressed. Those aren't emotional labels. Those are general weather reports, and your brain genuinely doesn't know what to do with them. Here's what I keep coming back to. There's a mechanism in your brain that can be activated, sniffed immediately, in seconds, just by putting a precise word on what you're experiencing. Researchers call it affect labeling, and the neuroscience behind it is honestly one of the most striking things I've come across in all the time I've spent digging into how the mind works. The foundational research comes from neuroscientist Matthew Lieberman and his team at UCLA. Published in Hashgarg Psychological Science, participants viewed images of faces showing intense emotions, while an fMRI recorded their brain activity. In one condition, they just observed. In another, they selected an emotional label. When participants named the emotion, amygdala activation, the brain's emotional alarm system dropped by up to 30% compared to just observing. 30%. From picking a word, the amygdala quieted. The prefrontal cortex, the rational, regulatory part, lit up instead. And here's the part the popular version of this story usually gets wrong. The labels were specific, not vague. The affect labeling effect isn't about generic emotional expression. It's about precise identification. This matters so much. Saying I feel bad does nothing measurable, but saying I feel frustrated because I expected something different and it didn't happen, that's a signal your prefrontal cortex can actually work with. You're not suppressing the emotion, you're transforming it. Most people look at this research and treat it like a journaling tip. I think that completely misses the point. This isn't about writing anything down. It's about the 15-second act of stopping, closing your eyes for a second, and actually asking, what is this precisely? What word fits it most accurately? Irritated or angry? Disappointed or sad? Nervous or afraid? Your brain responds to precision, not vagueness, and that response is immediate. The third one, the fastest dopamine hit you can access without really doing anything, this one is the most misunderstood. Because most people hear the word gratitude and immediately think journaling, 10-minute morning rituals, vision boards. They think it requires effort, time, a certain type of personality. It doesn't. Not for the short version. What I want to talk about isn't gratitude as a habit. It's gratitude as a 15-second neurological event. Because those are genuinely two different things. One of the most significant ways gratitude impacts the brain is by stimulating dopamine and serotonin production, the feel-good chemicals, and this doesn't require 30 days of journaling to kick in. Recognizing when something good is happening and actually articulating it, yen, has a measurable impact on the brain. Articulating it, that word is doing a lot of work there. When we feel grateful, neurotransmitters trigger activity across multiple brain regions, including the prefrontal cortex, the anterior cingulate cortex, the ventral striatum. The prefrontal cortex lights up. The amygdala calms down. Your brain is literally rewarding you for noticing something good. So, here's what this looks like in practice. Stop for 15 seconds. Find one thing, just one, that's real and true and actually good right now. Not aspirational. Not, I should be grateful for this. Something genuinely present. The coffee in your hand, the fact that your body carried you through today. A message a friend sent this morning that you almost didn't notice. And here's the part I find most remarkable about all this. Acts of gratitude actually create and strengthen neural pathways linked to happiness and well-being, which means feeling thankful today makes it slightly easier to access positive emotions tomorrow. So it's not just a 15-second boost. Every time you do it, you're making it easier to do again. The path gets more worn. The brain learns where to go. I want to bring this back to where I started. That parking lot. That gray morning. What I've come to understand, Neil, after spending a lot of time inside this research, Neil, is that happiness is less like a destination you reach and more like a dial you can turn. Not all the way, not immediately, not in every situation, but more than most people think is actually possible. The three things I've described today aren't hacks. They're not tricks in the shallow sense. They're signals. The face you hold, the word you choose, the thing you pause to notice. These are messages to your own nervous system. And your nervous system is listening all the time. What I'm still sitting with, honestly, is how little of this we're ever taught. We spend years learning to manage the external world and almost no time learning to communicate with the internal one. And yet, the internal one is where all of your experience actually happens. So, I want to leave you with one question, not one with an easy answer. If your brain has been waiting for signals from you, safety signals, naming signals, gratitude signals, and you've mostly been sending it noise, what might change if you started being more deliberate? Not all day, just in 15-second intervals. Your brain isn't broken. It's waiting to hear from you.